Check. There it is.
Welcome back. We are so excited to be back with you guys. I know we're a couple days late, but
So sorry.
apologies. But we had a family trip that we took, and then when we got back, we were trying to get settled, and the plan was to do a recording in Alabama with Wes's family. But honestly, just like spending time with them, honestly, time just kind of like got away from us. And
There was always 15 people at the house.
yeah, there's always like when we come to visit, like people come over to see us, which we love.
Yes.
So there really wasn't any like time to be like, hey, we want to go record this podcast. So we just decided to wait. But unfortunately, that pushed our days out a few days. But obviously, I know that you guys, I doubt there's a single person that's like mad.
I mean, if they are, they can get over it. I love
If you're
you.
mad, Wes didn't mean that.
I do mean that.
Well, you know, I doubt there's probably
If you're
not a
mad-
single person mad.
If you're mad, like, it's our life. And
I know. And we're
we
trying
do this.
to do
This
this.
is not our full-time job. We
No.
do this on the side.
We don't get a lick of
So-
money to do this. We do this for fun.
Yeah, so we try to do it at the same time every week,
Yeah.
but sometimes it doesn't work out that way
Yeah.
with life and family. And yeah, so if you get mad at that,
Sorry about your luck.
say it to my face.
Okay. And now
And now Emily is awkward.
now I'm uncomfortable. But I will say, if you're watching and you see what's happening behind me, that's because we're recording on Wes's 28th birthday.
Whoop, whoop.
What?
All they can really see is the balloons, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well, above me is a happy birthday banner and these giant balloons that say 28. But Wes is convinced that the 8 is an S and then
It
I got
looks
the
like an
wrong
S.
balloons. It's not. It is an 8. See, they're
Looks like-
connected.
I understand that.
Anyways, today is Wes's, and it's still his birthday. We're actually recording kind of early tonight. We
Bless
got the
God.
girls to bed early.
Bless God.
So technically it is still Wes's birthday, but he turned 28 today. So by the time this gets posted,
Be a few days after.
just a couple days, but you can still send him happy birthday messages if you didn't get to already.
And my Venmo is.
Yeah. And I literally posted on my story. I was like, I posted his Venmo tag and I was like, give the birthday boy some money. And I asked him tonight, I was like, who Venmo do you like some money today for your birthday? And he was like, not a single person.
I don't expect people to. Like,
I know, but like, you know, sometimes it's like, hey, coffee on me today, or, you know, something.
hey,
Shame,
it was just
shame.
It was just another day. I went to work, went to the gym.
I
It
know.
was just another day.
It really was super normal. Like, the only thing that was different is I made the pancakes tonight.
Yeah, normally I make pancakes
Yeah,
when we do breakfast.
Did you see my story on Instagram while you were
Uh-uh.
outside? So Wes like went outside and just kind of like chip in the yard.
Chip in the yard.
Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, but people aren't going to know what that means.
Oh.
Chip in the yard.
Like he was
Sounds like
putting,
I'm like
like playing
cutting
golf.
the grass with like with a
He was like playing golf, like
Yeah.
chipping, like
yeah, I was chipping around with my golf
chipping
clubs.
around, just like hitting the ball, whatever. And he went outside and I was cooking dinner. And I started like making these pancakes and I like took a video and posted it. And I was like, I said, go outside. It's your birthday. I'll cook dinner. What the heck am I doing? Like the pancakes weren't even like some of them weren't even circular. They were like all over the place. I was like, I think once some of them were like half of them were like burnt on one side and
They
too
weren't
hard.
burnt. They weren't burnt, but you did leave them on just a hair.
Yeah, they were too-
They weren't burnt, but
No,
like they were
they
a little
weren't-
hard. Like
Yeah.
one side was a little hard.
And I was
You
like,
need 'em
what
to be
the
a little,
actual heck
need
am
'em
I
to be
doing?
a little mushy still.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the heck I was doing. Because I was like, Wes always makes pancakes. And I
I like my pancakes like
like them
almost
mushy
done,
too.
but like just a tad mushy.
Yeah, no, I do too. But once I flipped them, I was like, whoop, that's not how you're supposed to do it. This is not what Wes's pancakes look like. And I was like, well, I'm trying to be a good housewife
It was great.
for hubby's birthday.
It was great.
But I was like, you know, it's bad when I can't even make pancakes. Like, you know, it's bad when I'm looking at the skillet and I'm like, ooh, what am I doing?
But yeah, just another normal day.
Yeah. The second round, because I made a bowl, poured the pancake mix in the water, I made it or whatever. Well, I emptied that one. So I made a second bowl. And I made that one way too watery the first time around. So I had to add more stuff to it. Like I measured it out. I don't think I measured it out right. Because the second time it was like,
do you know how to use a measuring cup?
Yeah.
Do you?
I did the first time. I did it right. Anyways, today's Wes's birthday. So when you're listening to it, Wes's birthday was 2 days ago. So shoot Wes a message and tell him happy birthday.
So when you're listening to this, it'll almost be Emily's birthday.
My birthday is on Monday. Yeah. But I'll be 30, so you don't have to send me any messages.
Oh, yeah. I'll be 28, but she'll almost be 30.
Yeah. No. When they listen to this, I will literally be 30 in like a couple of days. But you're currently 28.
I'm currently 28, but you're almost 30.
Anyways, all these people are like, I can't believe I'm going to be 30, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's a piece of me that's like, God, I'm 30. Like, what? But then there's also a piece of me that's like, heck yeah. Like, let's go. These are going to be
Where's that side? Because I don't ever see that side.
I don't know. There's like a piece of me that's, I told you.
Anytime I make a joke about it, you're like, shut up. I can't
that's just because you're younger than me. So you just keep making jokes about how like, yeah, well, I'll never be as old as you. Like, you just keep making jokes like that.
Because when I'm 30, you're all going to be 32.
But honestly, like I even told you, like my birthday party, if I do a big birthday party for my 30th, which I'm not doing a huge birthday party. Some people were like, you should do like a death to my 20s party. And I was like, no, like I'm excited to be 30. Like these are going to be the best years of my life. Like I genuinely believe that. And not that 20s weren't amazing. Like I met you in my 20s. We got married. We had our 2 beautiful babies, like started our lives. 20s, fantastic. But there was a lot of crap that happened in my 20s too that I've had to heal from. And so 30s, I'm like, nah, we bringing out the big guns. Like, let's go. Like,
we got a kid about to start.
Yeah, like my kid's going to school. I like stepped into a new role for our family. And I have so many like just visions and dreams about that. And like, I have so many goals I want to reach. And I like deeply believe that like we can reach those. So like all the years that we were in our 20s and it was like, we're living paycheck to paycheck and like feeling like, are we ever going to get out of this rut? Like, I don't believe that's going to be the case for our 30s. Like, I really don't. So like, I'm excited about 30. I feel like it's like a fresh start. It's like, I'm the best I've ever been physically too. Like I work out, I go to the gym, I eat better. Like I really take care of my mental health. Like I'm really serious about that. I feel like I put a lot of emphasis on like our family, me and you, our friends, like just so many things like lining up. So I'm like, yeah, all the things that went wrong in my 20s are about to go right in my 30s. So I am excited about it. But I mean, when people hear like, oh, you're in your 30s, like if I were to say like I'm 38, people would be like, oh, you're almost 40. Well, yeah, now I'm in that decade. Like, like I'm in that range where like in a few years, I'll be like mid 30s. Like I'm wondering when the gray hairs are coming.
I'm already getting them.
No, I know. You have gray hairs. It's fine.
Which is why I keep cutting my hair off.
Yeah.
Because I didn't buzz it this time.
No, I know. We did a little something different. He was going to go. So side note, before we get started, we actually have something we're going to talk about today. Don't worry. We actually have like a really good conversation we're going to have. But this is just like chit chat with Wes and Em. And also,
well, we haven't done this in 2 weeks because the last episode was cut into 2 parts.
Yes. Wes and I haven't got to like sit and talk, just the two of us in a hot minute. We have not been alone in a while. Anyways, so we go to visit his family and Wes is like, I need a haircut. Like my hair is growing out really bad. Like I really need to go get a haircut. So his family's like, oh, you need to go to this barber shop. Like a bunch of the guys here go. They love it. They look it up online. They look at the hours. Wes like, oh, perfect. I'll go.
Take walk-ins.
They take walk-ins. This was Thursday. They were telling you about it. And so Friday, he was like, let's go. Right? Is that the right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Friday. So we get dressed. He's like, let's me and you, like mom and dad can watch the kids. They don't get to see our girls. He's like, me and you, we'll go, like, I'll get my hair cut. We can go grab some lunch and then we can go see like a movie together. I was like, okay, that'll be really fun. So we drive all the way out to the barber shop And
It's like 12:30,
yeah, it's
12:45.
yeah. And we pull up and it has like all their hours listed on this
9 to
thing.
6.
9 to 6. And then their closed sign
Is on the door.
is like
not
lit.
a sign that's like gone for lunch. We'll be back at
No, no,
this
no.
time. On the website, it's not like we take lunch at this time.
No.
The website says open on Fridays 9 to 6. On the door it says open on Fridays 9 to 6, but the sign says closed.
Yeah. And there's
And I
not like
was like-
not a car in the parking lot.
No, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. And so he was like, let's just go get lunch. And then later that week, his mom cut his hair, which she, if you're watching, like she did a really good job. And his mom is not like a hairstylist.
Shut up, Bonnie.
Yeah. Bonnie did amazing. She did a really good job. And it's different. Like it's not like a buzz. It's like fresh little cut. It looks nice. Wes is like totally, we went to visit his family and there were people who were like, we did not recognize you. Like when we went to your parents' church, all those people who were like, who the heck are you? Like, we don't even recognize you. I said someone, I was like, I promise I didn't
Coach
remarry. Like, I didn't yeah. I was like, I didn't remarry. Like, people keep looking at me like, who's this guy? Like, same guy. Wes just had an insane glow up. And like, I get messages constantly, like random people on social media be like, your husband's had a huge glow up. And I'm like, he has. I loved him then. I love him now, but he has had a
love me
huge
more
glow.
now.
I do not love you. Okay, I love you more now because we've been married almost 8, or almost 7 years. But
You just have an excuse to love me more now. Even
Oh,
though I've lost the
no.
weight and I look better. And
no, he is full of crap. Let's get into what we're going to talk about. So, are you good?
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
I'm fine.
Okay, so I'm probably going to cry in this episode. I feel like I'm already about to cry.
You cry in every episode. It's okay.
That is not true. I don't cry in every episode.
98% of the episodes you've cried in.
I'm really about to like cry. I haven't even like started talking about this. So we're going to talk about a little bit of Wes's story tonight. And Wes kind of told me, he was like, I don't mind talking about this. He was like, but I'm not as good at like just laying it out on the table like you are. Like when I talk about my story, I have no problem being like, so this is kind of what happened and this is how all these things happened. And like Wes even said, he was like, I'm not good at that. So you're going to have to help me. So I'm going to kind of like, we're going to do our best to just navigate how to go about talking about this. I will get emotional. I'm already emotional. That's my name. Actually, emotional.
Yep, there it is.
Literally is my name. Okay, so if you guys have listened to previous episodes, obviously you'll know my story that I struggled with pornography for 15 years, I guess, almost. Probably almost about 15 years. And I know we talked about how I couldn't talk about it, or felt like I couldn't talk about it because that wasn't a thing that girls dealt with, right? But obviously, I don't even know the statistics on guys and pornography. Do you know like an accurate statistic on like how many guys
It's a lot
actually?
higher.
Yeah, it is. I wonder if it's higher because girls don't talk about it or they won't like admit it.
I've no idea.
Anyways, but tonight we're going to talk about Wes's story with porn. Do you want me to like ask you questions?
Yeah,
Do you want me
yeah,
to just like
you-
talk?
Yeah,
Okay,
'cause I
so
don't- again, I'm not good at like just riffing and.
well, I don't want to tell your story for you,
That's
I guess
fine.
is what
You
I'm
can ask
saying.
questions. You can. Like, what
okay.
do you think?
Okay,
we should
so-
talk about?
So let's start with where porn started for you, like as a kid.
Well, the first time like I saw like actual porn was I was at a friend's house and we were all over there like during the summer. There was a bunch of us guys over there and the parents weren't there and they just got on the computer. They looked something up while the guys huddled up around the computer.
It's like you're like it's like a TV show, like those shows
What
that
it
you
was
see
like.
like all the kids like Like that's what
exactly what it was like. Yeah, and
it's not funny, but it's like that's
I mean,
what
it's a little funny.
That's
Like,
what I picture, like a TV
we were
show.
in the,
I was gonna ask you, like, how old were
I
you?
don't even know.
Elementary school, you said. I
mean,
think
4th grade,
yeah.
maybe. I mean, I was young.
Mm.
I don't think it would have been like 3rd grade, but like I could be wrong about that. But like, yeah, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact how old I was, but yeah, we just huddled up around and it wasn't like porn.
Yeah.
It was like just pictures.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went home, did the same thing.
Yeah.
And there it was.
Yeah.
And then it was a long journey after that.
Yeah. Were you like one of those, because obviously like me and you were both like raised in church. And I know I talked about in my story, like I answered altar call after altar call after altar call. You were like for sure one of those kids. Like they called for porn, you would go to the altar.
No.
Because your parents were.
Yes.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
I would go to the altar, but like you would answer an altar call for something else.
Yes.
But you would pray about that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you couldn't answer that altar call.
Yeah, no.
No, you
Which your
couldn't.
dad was like your youth pastor almost your whole life, right?
He was my youth pastor.
Until he became your pastor.
Technically, I don't know if he was ever my youth pastor. Pretty sure we started it when I was at the end of my 6th grade year, into my 7th grade year.
But regardless, like as a teenager, your dad was your pastor.
Correct.
So like
in
that
a
wasn't
very small town.
Yeah. So it wasn't like you could just be like, I need to talk to somebody about this at church, which I relate to because
And
I went
at the time, I mean, my parents' church isn't huge now, but like, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
decent size now.
Yeah.
But like back then, I mean, you're talking 50 people max.
Yeah,
at the
that's how
church.
my church was. Yeah.
50 people max.
Right.
So like, not only was it a small town, but it was a small church.
Yeah.
Everybody in the church knows everybody.
Was it something that you definitely got, like you would answer an altar call for, like youth camps and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Every night, every time you could answer an altar call, you were going for it.
Yeah.
I I remember the first time my dad. It wasn't the first time I'd met the guy, but it was the first time I vividly remember my dad brought in Pastor Greg DeVries. And we were still in the little storefront church. And I was probably a little bit older at this point. I was probably 9th grade, maybe 8th or 9th grade. And he brought in Pastor Greg. And the big thing then was like, he will read your mail. And I remember shaking. Like,
That is terrifying.
shaking. Because he was going to do this like prophecy thing over the church and like all this stuff.
Was that like you were shaking about porn or just about like all of like your sexual sin?
About everything.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to call me out in front of the whole congregation
Yeah.
and everything? Which obviously now I know like that's not God.
Correct.
But like in the moment or leading up to that moment, I was just like,
Yeah. No, I bet. No, I can remember, and we're going to talk about Wes, I promise. But like, I can remember one time I was in my really small church where it was like max 50 people. Sometimes it was like max 40 people, like on a Sunday. My dad was my youth pastor. We were extremely, extremely close to everybody there. And I can remember vividly, it wasn't so much about porn. It was about like some sexual sin that I was dealing with like an ex-boyfriend. But he was on the platform saying like, you know, God is calling you to stop what you're doing. And it was like he wasn't, I mean, obviously my pastor didn't know what I was doing, but it was like he was talking straight through me. And I can remember just staring at the ground like,
yeah, like
I'm going to vomit.
that stuff happened like all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because like God's just
Yeah.
God's
like
just
tapping you.
like hey,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Like just look at me.
For sure.
But like this was like I'm about to get outed in front of these 50 people at my church.
Yeah, no, I definitely have had plenty of those experiences. Wes and I are like very similar as far as like church backgrounds. So we know exactly what it means to be like for us, like living in sexual sin and dealing with pornography, but being like so like in the church world, and then also being a part of like the Pentecostal, like prophetic, like all that stuff. You're constantly terrified someone's gonna like read your mail and like call you out. And like there's a piece of you that wants to stop all of this stuff, but then there's the other piece of you that's like, but I'm also a teenager and like I kind of want to do what I want to do at the same time. So like, God, I do want this to stop, but eventually, like, please don't call me out so I can just like, you know. Obviously, Wes that was the first time you experienced like porn, and it just never stopped.
The first time that I was like, oh, I can find this myself.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously, I was a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Like, things happen, you see things and, like, stuff like that. But, like, and, like, you might see a magazine at the store or something like that. But, like, this was the first time where I was like, oh, I can go home and be by myself and just look at whatever I want to.
Yeah. Do you kind of want to talk about where all this kind of happened for me and you?
Yeah, I mean...
Let me say this. So the reason that we're not tiptoeing around this because we're talking about it, but this is the first time like that we're talking about this publicly. Mm-hmm. Like we've counseled other couples through this, but it's kind of been more on like a private end. Like, we've never publicly talked about this conversation.
Yeah.
I've talked about my stuff. I really don't have.
And I've talked about obviously I'm not like on the platform like you are, but like I've talked about my stuff before from like in the past, but not
recent.
Yeah. I dealt with like porn, sexual sin, like all that stuff all the way through high school to the ramp, like my first year at the ramp and all that stuff. My first year at the ramp was when I felt like I had fully given that over to God and been like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to struggle with this anymore. I never told anybody about it, but just between me and God, I was like, and obviously I'd prayed that before, but it was the first time where I was like, I'm serious. Like, I'm done. I don't want this. And I didn't, not that I didn't deal with it, but like I didn't like have that issue anymore. Well, not anymore, for a while. And that was, so that would have been 2 years before we got married. So for almost 2 years, or a little over 2 years, I was fine. We got married, and in that first year, to be honest, I don't even remember what happened that made me do this or like what triggered it. But one night I just fell back into it, not thinking about anything, not thinking about anybody else, not thinking about you, just fell right back into it. And it was like a one night thing. And the next day I woke up and you were livid. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, what's going on?
So I remember
it was a Sunday, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because we came home and took a nap.
And
so
I woke up from the nap and you were just like,
I will say this. So I had an old relationship. I was with this guy for a very long time, and he struggled with porn pretty much through our entire relationship. And it was really hard for me because I also struggled with porn for a long time. But when I was dating him, it was something that I didn't do because I didn't want to disrespect him. I at all. Like I didn't really watch porn at all while we dated. So the fact that he kept doing it, I was like, for me, I was like, I know what it's like to want to do this, and I'm choosing not to because of you. If anybody gets it, it's me. Like, why can't you respect me? So like, we had this like whole thing pretty much through our entire relationship. And so there was always, not that I didn't trust Wes, like Wes and I, we were friends for a long time. Like I trusted him and never thought anything like, but we took a nap one Sunday after church. Like I said, we had not even been married a year. like a few months. I wake up and his phone is like kind of laying next to his face, which that's pretty normal. Like Wes plays on his phone before he goes to sleep. And so I picked it up to kind of like lay it on his nightstand. And when I did, I noticed like he still had some like apps opened, and that's also not like Wes. Like he closes everything out.
Unlike some people we know.
Or we're not gonna talk
Do you
about
want to pull up your phone right now?
No, we're
Tell
not
me how
gonna-
many apps or stuff you have open right now?
No, we're not gonna talk about that right
that's
now.
what I thought.
There's like almost 500 tabs on my
God.
Google Chrome like history
That's
right now.
ridiculous.
It's gonna take me so long to cancel them out. So I'm just
You
like,
won't
whatever,
do it.
Let's just leave them. It's taking.
I'm gonna
it would
have
take
to
so
do it
long.
one day. I'm gonna have to go and
Anyways,
do it for you.
so I noticed that he still had some stuff pulled up. So I just happened to like, I don't know if it was just like a trigger from my old relationship, but I just happened to like, what was he doing? And I pulled up his history on his Safari on his phone, and I found it. And I didn't really know, it was the first time, so I didn't really know what to do. He was still asleep. So it was like I could just start like smacking the crap out of him. That was like what ran through my head, you know? So I like walked out of the room. I like broke down in tears, like walked out of the room, just had to have a moment of like, I need to calm down. I need to like, because there's also that piece of me that's like, I've also struggled with this. Like that's something that I've done too, but like, man, I wish there was, and then I was so upset that like he was still asleep. Like he didn't even have a chance to like talk, like tell me. Like I found it before I didn't even have a chance to give you a chance to tell me. Like I found it before you could have come clean, which was frustrating to me because I'm like, would he have come clean? Like, would he have told me? Would he have not? Would he have kept it a secret? Yep. So like all these things going through my head, I calm down. I go and just like wake him up, and I'm like, we need to talk. And at first you were like, you said like, what? Like what? What happened? And I'm like, is there anything you want to tell me? And you were like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, anything you want to tell me about like what you were looking at on your phone? And like the blood like drained from your face. And I was like, do you want to talk about this? And we ended up having like a really good conversation. And one of the things that you said to me was, Emily, nobody has ever called me out on this before. I've never talked to a soul about the fact that I've watched porn in my life. And like that made me really emotional because I was like, I've been there, like where I've never told a soul that I've watched pornography. And it like hurt me for you. So I was like, you're 20 something years old. You've never told a soul like in your entire life that you watch porn. And then and it's been something that's been so ingrained in you that you're being caught by your wife, like watching porn, which hurt both of us. But we dealt with that situation. And one of the things I remember pretty much just telling you was like, you can like, if that's something you're going to you're struggling with, like you can talk to me about that. Like, I know it might feel weird, but like, I'm not just like your wife who's like, you need to talk to me about that. I'm also someone who's like struggled with porn. So like, I get it. Like, and we had a really good conversation about that, and things were going like really well for a while. And then it was probably like a year or so later, we had stayed up all night.
We drove back that Saturday.
Saturday
night.
We had taken some people to the ramp who'd never been before. And so we had to lead worship that Sunday. So we like fall ramp was on Saturday. We left early and drove
all the way back.
So we'd pulled an all-nighter.
Got back at like 4:35 in the morning.
Yeah.
Whatever time it was.
You went and got in the shower. I took like a power nap, and then we got up and like went to church.
Came home, took a nap.
Took a nap. Naps are of the devil. No, I'm just kidding. Naps are not of the devil. Came home, took a nap. I just happened to like have this feeling, and I went through your phone again. And there it was. And we had another, this one was not as easy because I was like, we've literally already talked about this. And that was like a really, really hard one for me because I was like, we just talked about this like less than a year ago. Like, what is going on? I don't even know if it was like a year. It was like
I don't remember.
just a few months. But in that moment, I think I started to realize like, okay, this is not just, oops. This was like, I had to like realize.
Well, hold on. To be fair, it wasn't like an ongoing thing.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I had to realize like, okay, these are not just like random slip ups that are like random things that he's doing because we're like in our marriage. Like I had to really dig deep and be like, this has been something he's dealt with almost his whole life. And I'm the first person. And at that point, you felt shame because you even said, you're like, I feel horrible. Like,
Yeah.
I hate this. You hated that you hurt me. You hated how it made you feel because like it was still an issue. And now we're married. Like it wasn't something you dealt with like as a teenager and like you watched it while you had girlfriends. Like we're married. And that was another thing I had to like wrap my brain around because we were sleeping, like we were having sex and you were still looking at porn. And like that was really hard for me because I'm like, okay, it'd be one thing if like I wasn't putting out, like I'm the girlfriend who's like, no, I don't want to have sex yet. And you're like, it wasn't like that. Yeah. So that was like really challenging on us for a while and like really challenging for me. And we also like, I don't know where we heard, someone said somewhere, maybe it was a podcast listened to or like a teaching someone did like on a Sunday, like or like a conference or something. But they talked about how they watched porn. They found themselves slipping up into sexual sin and watching porn after like church or like after they've had like a super spiritual like encounter. And we started like really like diving into that and like realizing that when you have like this encounter with God or like you've been in like this super spiritual like environment, your walls come down. And if you're not careful, like that's when things start to like kind of flare back up because your walls are down.
Yeah.
Which made sense because both times you were both extremely tired and we just come out of like church. And so like that, not that it was like it's fine. I understand. Like it's an excuse. We had very long, hard conversations about this.
Fun.
No, they were not fun. And Wes was very like, I'll get a flip phone. Like, what do you want me to do? I'll go tell somebody. I'll call like you were like, I'll call Pastor Casey right now. Like, what do you want me? Because I was at the point where I was like, this is so hurtful. I don't even know how to look at you. Like, I don't know how to see you the same. And Wes is not somebody that was just like, well, I've been struggling with this. Like Wes was not like that. He did not give himself an excuse. Like he did not.
Well, and it was frustrating because again, this wasn't something that had been like on and off or continuous for years and years and years. Like this is something that I did deal with in the past.
Yeah.
But like for 2.5 years, however long it was, I hadn't dealt with it.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't. And again, not that I didn't want to, but like I was able to be like, no.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing that.
Right.
But then something happened and then I slipped up and now I'm having to face how I made somebody else feel and my wife. Now I'm having to face how I'm feeling as a person, how pain is the wrong word, but like just the things that I was putting myself through.
It's painful. Like, even though you did it, it still is painful for you to have to like experience, like you're having to face all of this stuff that you never really faced before. You're having to like look at it in the face and it's painful.
Painful is not the word I would use though. Relief is a word I would use because it is something that I'd never talked about to anybody.
I do remember you saying that. Like,
not a, I mean, let me rephrase that. Not that I hadn't talked to it about anybody, but
Okay,
like
you and the boys at the field house is
exactly.
not the same thing.
Exactly. That's different.
Yeah.
But like talking to somebody and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I'm dealing with this. Like that never happened.
Right.
No pastors, no
Right.
friends, nobody knew.
Yeah.
Like even going to the ramp, nobody knew.
Right.
After, like, I was able to be like, God, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I was able to, and again, this was probably a part of why I ended up slipping again, but it was partly just under my own control of like,
I got this.
I got this. I don't want this anymore. I'm done. That's the end of it. Basically just quitting cold turkey. I'm not telling a soul that I haven't dealt with this really, other than like a
Because we
few
never
people.
even, me and you never even talked about it prior to marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew my story. Like I had told, we were youth leaders. So I had shared my story with the youth.
Mm-hmm.
I had I think Alex maybe had me talk about it, or I shared it with some of the young girls. And I counseled several girls about teenage girls. I counseled them through their porn, addictions. And so it was something that was very known to you, you knew.
Correct.
But it wasn't even a conversation me and you had about you. We
Again,
never
I was
talked about it. And I'm not
But that
stupid.
comes
Most guys deal with porn. It wasn't I'm sure Wes is just perfect. And
No.
it was just kind of one of those things where I was well, most guys have watched porn. Surely that's not going to be an issue in our marriage.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it.
I was still under this assumption of I can't tell anybody
Yeah.
because of the way, not that my parents did anything wrong, but just being in a small town, being
The
a
pastor's kid.
being on the football team and the baseball team and a three sport athlete, going to a small school, but then on top of all of that, being a PK, having all of these connections to bigger ministries too,
Yep.
People just knowing who I was. Not that I was a big deal, but
Yeah.
just people knowing who
You're
I was.
from a small town,
Yeah.
and your parents were teachers at a school.
And on top of that, my parents' church at the time was basically the only spirit-filled, non-denominational, charismatic church.
it's a lot to live up to, and you're trying to be this person in a small town. Everybody knows you. Everybody knows your parents. Everybody knows everybody's business. Everybody knows everybody's business. So you're trying to navigate, how do I keep all of this hidden?
Correct.
So that my parents don't look bad, or that my brothers don't look bad, or my
Honestly,
church doesn't look
wasn't
bad.
about my church or my parents. It was about how do I keep up this image
Yep.
that I have
Yeah.
for me?
Yep.
How do I live this life over here and live this life over here?
Mm-hmm.
Keep them separate and nobody know about what's happening over
Right.
here. And I carried that
Yeah.
for a long time.
I remember you saying to me the first time that it happened, I'm not, and because you were I'm not trying to say this to hurt you, and I'm not happy that I hurt you, but I feel relieved that you found that you caught me. I feel relieved that you saw this on my phone, because now it's okay, now I can actually talk about it with my wife, and it not be this, oh, is he gonna do it kind of a thing. It's I did it. It's out there. This is an issue. And then obviously it happened again, and we had a hard conversation. We had a hard few weeks. We had a lot to work through, a lot to navigate. And like I said before, Wes was never somebody that made excuses for himself. He straight up was I'll call Pastor Casey tomorrow. Who do you want me to tell? I will go get counseling. I will get a flip phone. I will shatter this right now. Anything he can to take ownership. But
I do think some of that was a little excessive. Not in the sense of it needed to be done, but also like there was emotions were high.
Yeah.
Obviously I could tell that I hurt you. I am a person who wants to fix things.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing how bad I hurt you, I was number one, I was like obviously this doesn't need to happen. So whatever I need to do that this doesn't happen, I'll do. Number two, how do I fix us? Like fix what's between
like the
us.
trust that's been broken. Yeah.
So like some of that, like, I mean, I remember being like, I will open this door and throw this phone out right now.
You're like, I'll chuck it out the window.
Like,
and I was like,
that's
hold on. And of course I'm like, my emotions are high too. I'm extremely upset. I'm extremely hurt. And Wes and I talked about this because he was like, I'll call Pastor Casey. Like, but I wanted us to talk about this because I feel like there are probably other couples out there who have dealt to something similar.
I'm sure.
And have never talked about it. And they feel like they're alone, or they feel like their marriage is falling apart, or like, how do they get back to that? Trust has been broken. How do we get back to like a good place? And we've been listening a lot to like the Carl Lentz and Laura Lentz podcast. We've not done that. There's been no infidelity on either one of our ends. Just want to make that clear.
Is that something you want to tell me?
Yeah, that nothing has ever happened like that. I just want to make that clear. But I say that to say that has stirred a lot in me of like, man, people really do just need to hear stories. Like, they really do just need to hear stories like of reconciliation, and that trust can be rebuilt and like all that stuff. But in that moment too, I felt embarrassed. Like, no, I don't want you to tell anybody, because how do I face like that my husband wanted to look at other girls naked? Like, how do I face people? And Wes and I have talked about this before. So like, this isn't anything that's gonna like make him feel like crap. I hope not.
I'm Gucci over here.
But like, I did deal with, I don't want to look at people in the face and them know that like, oh, she wasn't good enough for Wes. Cause like that was embarrassing. Like, that was how I felt. I didn't want anybody to know. Like, even though Wes was like willing to tell people, like, I'll talk to somebody, I'll do whatever. I was like, no, we don't have to talk to anybody. Like, which was extremely naive on my part too.
Yeah, because in the long run,
it hurt us in the long run. Because then, like, as much as Wes tried to deal with it on his own for so many years, then we tried to deal with it by ourselves for so many years. And that only harmed us because trust was not actually being rebuilt. We were just like kind of shoving it down as if it never happened.
Correct.
And that was like harmful for us, so much so that after Clark was born, it happened again. And Wes was asleep. I woke up first, found it on his phone.
Yep.
There's a pattern.
There's a pattern.
This is why Wes doesn't take naps anymore. He's terrified of me. No, but
listen, if we didn't have kids, I would take naps all the time.
No, literally same. Here, you can have my phone. Leave it unlocked. I don't even care. I'm taking a nap. But it happened again right after. I mean, it was, Clark was only a few months old. So that was like not, I wouldn't say like it was for me, like it was like the last straw. Like, it wasn't like I was like, I'm filing for divorce or anything like that.
But it was for me, the top had popped off. Yep. And I basically was like, I can't look at you. I don't want to talk to you. I need space. I don't know how to deal with this. And it was a lot of emotion. And at that point, I knew we can't do this by ourselves. And if our marriage is going to last, I'm bringing somebody else in. Yep. So much so that when I wasn't with Wes, I didn't even tell him. I texted somebody that's very close to us. And I knew that her and her husband had dealt with the same thing. Like, early in their marriage, they had dealt with, her husband had watched porn and they had kind of like been through this. And so just on a whim, I just was like, can't do this anymore. Wes has been watching porn. I think I want out. I don't know what to do. And that was just all that I felt in that text. It's all I knew. Yep.
To which she immediately was like, oh my God, where are you? Like, can I call you? And we were really busy. So I was like, I can't talk right now, but I just need you to know this is where I'm at. So yeah, we ended up figuring out, like me and Wes had like on and off conversations, like in passing.
Very short.
Very abbreviated, like what? Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Very short text messages.
Yeah. And we were finally able to like find some time. We got someone to watch Clark, and we were able to do a phone call with this couple. And it was the first time that we had like just laid it all out there. And I was able to say, yeah, this isn't the first time. And yeah, also this isn't the second time. And I broke just because I had been bottling up so much, but I didn't want to tell people. Also, as a wife, you don't want to expose your spouse. Like, I didn't want to be like, let's go talk to somebody, because that like it exposed, and not that you didn't want to be
wife thing. I think it's your personality.
I mean, yeah, but I cared so much of like, I don't want to expose him. Like, I don't want to just put him in a line of fire for people to drag him through the mud, because I knew, and the thing is like, I knew that it was hurting you. Like, I knew that it was hurting you, that it was hurting me. I knew that it wasn't something you just wanted to do, or that you didn't care about how it made me feel, or that you were like sneaking around lying about it, because that also wasn't the case. The second that I approached you and was like, did this happen? You were like, yeah, it did. You never lied. You never tried to hide it. It was just like, yeah, that happened. And so I felt this sense of, okay, well, I don't want to like rip this huge giant Band-Aid off this wound and like feed his pain, even though I'm hurting. But like we said, all it did was hurt us in the end. So we were finally able to like have this conversation, and I was able to say the things of like, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like he loves me. I don't feel like he thinks I'm sexy. It makes me feel disgusting. Like, I don't even want, like, I can remember like that before we even got to talk to them, like prior to that conversation, trying to change and like not wanting you to like see me change clothes, because it was like, I don't want you to look at me the way you looked at other girls. And like that feeling, it felt so real. And it in the moment, it feels like I'm never going to feel the same. Like, I'm never going to feel like good again about this situation. But the conversation with our friends was super beneficial, because they were able to kind of clear some like lines, like to try to unblur some lines that I had kind of like blurred, because they were like, I know you, right now you think he doesn't love you. That's not true. I know you think he doesn't find you sexy. That's not true. I know that you think that you're not good enough for him. That's not true. And even though my feelings were very valid in that moment, they did a very good job of kind of helping like remove a little bit of the veil of like, this is not a me thing. This has nothing to do with me and Wes. This is a Wes thing. And like, this is something Wes has been dealing with, and he needs to address, and he needs to heal, and he needs accountability for, and he needs to make the decision to do this or to not to do this, and that it didn't have anything to do with me. And in the moment, that's really hard. And like, I've been listening to a lot of, because like I did heal from a lot of that, like when that was kind of happening and like shortly after. But even now, like 4 years later, almost 5 years later, listening to the Carl and Laura Lentz podcast, and like
there's still things
Laura saying like, I know it's not my fault, it's his.
There's still things that like, even though it's like grief, like you're constantly healing.
Yep.
I don't know if in this life we can ever be whole, in the sense of something happened to us and now like we have to carry that with us for the rest of our life, because every day something new can happen and you will learn something new about that. Or you can heal a new part of you every day.
Yeah.
Because I say that as a Christian, as a person who believes God can heal us. But and that sounds counteractive, I know, but we see God in a new way every day. We learn something new every day. We experience something new almost every day. So when we experience something that hurts us and we move forward in life, we are healing every day from that thing, if we choose to. Obviously, you can choose not to heal from it, and you can spiral down a long rabbit hole. But that, it doesn't matter that it's been 4 years since that happened. There are things that I learn about myself every day where I'm like, oh, that's new.
Yeah.
Or for you can, you learn listening to Laura Lentz and talking about it, even though you've already heard that.
Yeah. It's I know that it wasn't me, but there's still, it's when they say it, it's fresh again. And you're 5 years later, that wasn't me. And that was the last time that we had that conversation, but that was not the last time that I've looked through his phone. That was not the last time that I've said, I'm feeling uneasy. Mm-hmm. That was not the last time that I've been emotional or said, it still hurts me that this did happen. Just because we had that conversation, and that conversation with them was very healing.
It didn't heal overnight.
No, it has been a journey. It has been a journey for us. And years later, we've been able, what's really cool for Wes and I though, is we've been able to counsel several couples through this same thing. And it's not that I'm so glad that it happened to us so that we could do this. I'm so glad that we have gotten to a place where we're able to talk about this and see other people healed in spite of the fact that it happened to us. But there are still days, we're looking at almost 5 years later, and there are still days where I'm hey, I'm feeling a little uneasy. Could you just be honest? Have you watched porn lately? And then when he tells me no, I'm okay.
But it's my job. I can't get mad at that.
Correct.
Do I do a great job of that all the time? No.
Most of the time you don't get mad as much as you're why are you thinking that?
When you come to me directly and ask me, hey, I'm feeling this way. Is there anything you need to tell me? Blah, blah, blah. That stuff doesn't really affect me because I can just be no, why are you feeling this way?
Yeah.
I haven't. Is there something that I've done that made you feel uneasy or anything like that? When you take my phone or I can tell you start, before you say anything, I can tell you start acting a certain way. Most of the time I'm good with it. But sometimes I'm what the freak is wrong with her? Why is she always and sometimes that's in my head. Sometimes that comes out. I'm not perfect about it, but it's not right for me to just be that. It's not right for me to be like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm the one that caused.
But we all have that little thing in us. It's I've been doing so good.
Years,
why is this still a thing? But because the thing about trust, and we learned this on the Carl Lentz podcast too, is trust is always being built. There's never a day that you're not going to be able, there's never going to be a day where you're just going to be I built the trust.
Correct.
It's a constant state of building trust, keeping trust, proving that we're worthy of trust. All of those things, they add up. It was a couple weeks ago, I took your phone to do something and I pulled up Safari to search something because my phone was dead.
This was last week.
Yeah, it was at one of your shows because I had your phone. Mm-hmm. And I noticed, which I didn't know this, but there's an update like in Safari or Google Chrome, I don't know, Safari, where there's like a private tab thing. So like if you click on private, then if you close out of that, it's like gone and there's like no history. Basically, it's like there's no proof that it ever happened. So I'd never seen that like update. So we got in the car that night and I was like, I need to talk to you about this because this makes me feel some type of way, because you could look, this is like an easy out for you. Like, not that I think you're doing it to go behind my back, but like, what's to say that this isn't something that makes it like come up in you and like cause you to do that again when you don't want to do that, but you could, because it's like, well, I won't get caught. It'll go away. It'll be like it never happened. And like we talked about that, and you know, Wes was like, I can try to see if I can get rid of it.
I've tried.
Yeah, like he's like, I can. What do you want me to do? Like, you know, I can try to help. That happened like 2 weeks ago. And it's still something that's like, it is for me, because there's like a piece of me that's like, I don't want to go through this again. Like, that was so painful. I don't want to go through this again. But also there's another side of it that's like, I don't want that to happen to you. Like, I don't want there to be anything that comes up that causes you to be like, oh, well, this would just be easy. But I think, and I've dealt with this too. The thing about like building trust, and like me and you in this story, and like we've counseled other couples about this, but it's like, number one, no matter, because Wes and I could sit here all day and tell you all the reasons like why we don't think that's okay, especially like in our marriage. Regardless if you like think it's okay, if you don't think it's okay. And I think we said this last episode about porn, but it's really about like where you guys are as a couple. And if like your spouse says, hey, I don't want you watching porn, your thoughts on it are irrelevant.
Yeah,
like,
they don't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like, it hurts me. Like, when I say, Wes, it hurts me, like, that's the end of it.
Yeah. Like if we weren't Christians and we didn't think that
it wasn't good for our souls.
or our marriage or whatever. If I was like, it's fine, whatever, I can do whatever I want. But you were still like, I don't like that you're looking at other women like this. That's the end of it.
Yeah. That's it.
Like, if we're married, that's the end of that conversation.
Yep.
There's no way around it.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like, something that I've had to learn, especially with like my story too, is like choosing not to look at that is an every single day decision.
Correct.
Like, and you can say what you want about God delivering you from pornography, and like, I'm not saying that that's not something God can do. I don't think I've personally seen that happen to really anybody, where they just like walk away and they're like, never again. I never even thought about it again. I never even wanted to again. Like, correct. I personally have never seen that happen. If that happened to you, God bless you. That's beautiful and amazing. And I am jealous. But I've personally never seen that happen to anybody.
Correct.
But I will say, I do believe that you can have an encounter with God that causes you to see like, oh, this is harmful for me. Like, this is not good for me. This is not good for my marriage. It's not good for fill in the blank to watch porn. But regardless, every single day when you wake up, you make a decision not to watch porn.
Correct.
You make a decision, I'm not going to look at that.
Correct.
Like, and at the end of the day, Wes has social media. I have social media. It is literally at our fingertips with a swipe. And there are things that like pop up. Like, just not just like, I mean, you're not going to go through Instagram and see full on like pornography, but you are definitely going to see some like something way more inappropriate than should be on there.
Yep.
Especially like for us, we're gym junkies. So like, the lack of clothing that people feel the need to wear on social media to show off their gym body sometimes is like appalling. I'm like, Jesus, okay, swipe. But it's like the choosing of like, I'm not going to partake in that. I'm going to choose not to do that. And that is Christian or not Christian. Like,
Yeah.
that is called self-control.
Yep.
That is called, I am not going to do this because this is not good for me. And that's something that like we're both learning, and like every single day is like a win.
Yep.
Like, I didn't watch porn today. That's a win. I saw something inappropriate and either like an account followed me, I blocked it, or something popped up and somebody like,
You should see they
tried to request me in my DMs and I deleted it.
Of things I have blocked on.
Yeah, it's like, and it would be
Which
so.
You can look, by the way, because you have access to my Instagram.
Well, yeah, you're logged in on my phone. It would be so easy to just, I could find it whenever I want, between TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I mean, wherever. It's an active choosing. I don't want to do that. It's something that like we've kind of had to learn, because early when that first started happening, I was like, but even if you're not like watching it, are you going to want to? Like, and that was always something that like stemmed up in me, was like, what, but you're only doing it because I don't want you to. You still want to. And like, we had to have conversations about like, and this is going to like maybe rub people the wrong way, but like, of course guys are going to want to look at naked women. Like, of course they are. And like, that was really hard for me to wrap my brain around, because I was like, why would you want to? Like, I'm the only person you should want to see naked. And I can't wrap my brain around that because I'm not wired like a guy. Like, I'm not wired to be like a visual person.
Yeah.
And like, the more like I've actually studied and like tried to learn like the difference between like men and women and like all that, and learning that guys are very visual, and like that is how they're stimulated by like what they see. And like when Wes would be like, I'm not going to, like, it's not that I want to look at other women. Like, it's not like I want to look at another woman and I don't look at them the way I look at you. I'm like trying to like make sense of something that doesn't make sense to me. But to know, and like I even had to tell another girl that like I counseled through this, of like, guys are visual. Of course, a naked body is going to stimulate their brain. But if they choose not to look at that because they love you, like, they love you.
Yeah.
And they're choosing every day of like, no, I don't want to stimulate my brain that way. Even though that is what comes easy to you guys. Like, to a guy, that comes easy. Like, I get my brain stimulated by looking at like a naked body.
That is like, what's the word I'm looking for? That it reverts back to that primal thing in your head that's like, this is partly why we're made.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Partly why we're made is to have sex and procreate.
Yeah.
Like, and that's part of it. And that's why your brain releases the chemicals it does. And that's why like all of these things happen. So like when a guy sees a naked body, of course it's going to start sending off all of these chemicals and these reactions in your body and in your brain. And next thing you know, I mean, I've talked to you about this, and I don't know if you've said the same thing, like when you dealt with all this, but like for guys, and I've talked to several guys, so like that have this same situation, but like once you get to a certain point, it's like you black out.
Yeah.
And it's like the chemicals and everything just take over, and you're like, and you like, by the time you're done, you're kind of like,
what just happened?
what's going on?
Yeah.
Type thing. Like even in high school, like even when I didn't, like obviously I didn't want to do it because of like the Christian side of me, but like I did want to do it. Like, I kind of didn't care at the same time. But like even then, like there would be times laying in my bed at night where I just like literally would just black out. And like 1 second you're literally just laying there, and the next second you're like, what just happened? And you look at your phone and you're like, oh, that happened. And then it's like that happens still to guys. To like it's not a matter of like, oh, I was 16 and that happened. Like, no, that's the chemicals and everything that's happening in your brain.
It's very similar to like a girl, like what stimulates us is like an emotional like connection, you know?
Yep.
So it's like what stimulates you visually is like if another guy were like trying to like, you know, woo me and like I fed that emotional connection, that would be like what stimulated me. But like just like I actively choose not to have an emotional affair, like you actively choose not to look at pornography. And I think that's something that is harder for women to like grasp because we're not wired that way. It's like we don't think like that. And we just feel like that's why girls say things that they don't mean, but like guys are gross, guys are disgusting, like guys are pervs, like, you know, just because we can't comprehend that way of like thinking. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, it's fine that your husband just like wants to watch porn or that he like is like cool with that. Because at the end of the day, it is not good for you. Yep. Just because it is stimulating to your brain doesn't mean it is good for you.
Cocaine is stimulating.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are stimulating that are not good
Probably
for
shouldn't
you.
Be doing cocaine.
Yeah. Wes and our opinion on porn is that it is not good for you. That's kind of like where we stand on it.
Other couples, they might not agree.
Yeah, but Wes and I stand on it is not good for you. It is not good. It has not been good for Wes. It was not good for me. It was definitely not good for our marriage.
Definitely not good for our marriage.
Wes and I don't talk about this often. Like it's not something we sit around and talk about for sure. I mean, if it gets brought up, we talk about it. It's not something we act like it's never happened.
Yeah.
It's not like we talk about it often.
Yeah.
So when we talk about it now, Wes is kind of like, yeah, he's like reliving like it was bad. Traumatic. It was bad.
It was bad. It was.
Yeah.
Listen.
I mean, we even said in the beginning of these podcasts, divorce was never like on the table for us. Like that wasn't something like even when things get bad that I'm just like, well, I want a divorce. And I never said that in this, but I definitely was like, I don't know where to go from here because I cannot keep doing this. And if this is something that you want to keep doing, I am not going to be a part of it. Which is not, I want a divorce, but it is insinuating, get your crap together because I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game. But it was, I mean, it's like it's not an easy conversation to have with other people or to like talk about. Even like this podcast is like, we've been putting it off for 17 episodes. And when we first talked about it, because I talked about mine, I think when I talked about my story, it was like episode 4.
Something like that.
Like very early on in the podcast. And you said, I don't think I want to talk about mine. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I think it would be good for people to hear your story. And you're like, I don't want to talk about that. And I obviously respected that because I was like, that's your story to tell. Like, we can tell people whenever you want. And it's not that like I said, we've told people. Like, we have different people in our lives who know our story. And we've counseled people and people who have counseled us. And, like, we've definitely talked to people about it. But this has not been, like, a public, for the first time, this is a public, like, conversation that we're having about something that we struggled with really bad in our marriage. And it definitely brought up a lot of insecurities in me. I think that's kind of when we started really struggling with, like, I don't think we like each other. Like, I feel like that was like the time frame of like, we don't like each other because there had been at least on my end, there'd been such a breach in our trust that I was like, now, not only am I like really insecure as a person, so I already don't like myself. You are all like really insecure as a person. Like that was like kind of like where we were really low, like in depression, and like you had gained a bunch of weight and like all that stuff. But now I've got this thing that's like, oh, Andy watches porn. Like, throw that on there. Like, I don't like him. And we struggled really, really hard. We're still very open about it. I have open conversation with him of like, hey, I'm feeling this way. Or not even long ago, I came to him, I was like, I had a dream that you've been watching porn again. I just need to know, like, is this happening? And I think I know that there are lots of couples who have struggled with this before, because we cannot be the only ones. Like, couples who have walked through this. And maybe you're like a wife saying, I don't know how to get back. Like, he's looked at these women, he's looked at these images. I don't know how to get back to where we were, or to how I felt, or to feeling safe again. And like, I guess I just want to like encourage you that it is possible to get back there, because like Wes and I are like the happiest in our marriage we've ever been, like the most comfortable, the most safe, like.
And that might be something we need to do an episode on, is like how we got back to.
Yeah, we can for sure do that. But I guess I was actually really excited because I didn't have a plan for this episode, and I told Wes.
Neither did I, so.
I told Wes, I was like, you know, just think about like what our next episode could be, because originally we had planned on interviewing some people, but that didn't work out. And so I was like, all right, well, we're going to come up with another plan. Like, you know, let's think about something to talk about. And Wes was actually the one that was like, we could tell my story. And I was really excited about that, because I think that it's definitely something people need to hear. And I know that I'm not the only wife who's been in this situation. I know you're not the only husband and I will say this, there are husbands out there who are like, yeah, I watch porn, get over it.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, like, I don't really know that we're speaking to those kind of couples. The wife's not okay with it, but the husband's like, get over it. Like, I'll be honest, I don't know that we're even speaking to those couples, because like, unless your spouse is willing to hear you and see the broken pieces of you and want to heal that in your marriage, I don't know how we can help. There may be a different kind of conversation that you guys need to be having, because from Wes's side of things, it broke him, that it broke me. And he didn't.
I mean, yes, but it broke me.
Yeah.
Like, even seeing you, like, that just hurts. But like, it broke me.
Yeah.
Like, just by itself.
Yeah.
Seeing the pain that it put you through just was like, it was just the cherry on top.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty traumatic, but it's not something that I'm like, oh my God, this horrible thing happened to us. Ha ha ha. It's like, we've actually put in like a lot of work to get to like this point of honest, open communication. We've had to rebuild a lot of trust, and I every day have to put trust in Wes. Kind of like your journey with like, I won't watch porn today. My job as your wife is like to trust today he won't watch porn. And then like the next day I do the same thing. Like, I'm going to trust that today he won't. And it's just like walking that journey together, because like, as much as you can take the journey of taking the step of not to do something, as the wife in this, to make us work, to make us strong, I have to put that same amount of trust in you to not do what you're saying you're not going to do. Yeah. And I think that's what like kind of makes us work together, because you could easily be like, every single day you're taking the step, but I could be the one that's like, well, I just don't trust that he's going to do. What are you probably going to do it today? Well, if you didn't do it today, you're probably going to do it tomorrow. Like, and what does that build?
Yeah.
And I think like when you walk through something like this, like, if they're choosing every day to wake up and choose not to do that, on the other side, we can choose to trust in the same journey.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're in this together.
Yep.
Like, whatever we face it together.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Yep.
Finances, sickness, pornography, like we face it together. So, and obviously for a long time, it was like we didn't.
Yeah.
It was kind of like you figure it out, let me know if you're struggling with it type thing. Now it's like, hey, like, if we need to go get help, we'll go get help, and we'll sit down together and talk about it, type thing. So, yeah, when you're facing something, you face it together as a couple. So when you, like you were saying, like if you're saying his job as the guy or vice versa, whoever's struggling with it, their job is to wake up and say, I'm not watching porn today. Then your job as the spouse is to say, I back you, and I'm trusting that you're not going to do this, and I'm not going to throw it in your face.
Yeah.
Now, if I feel a certain way, I can ask you, and I can be vulnerable and be
and that should be available.
Yeah.
That place should be available where I can.
But I can't throw it in your face.
No, exactly. I don't get to say, all the stuff you did made me feel some type of way, and now I have to go around feeling this way. And like, I think
those feelings are valid.
Yeah.
In the moment when maybe it happened, but for especially like with our situation, 5 years, like if nothing happened and randomly one day you just came out swinging with that.
Yeah. And I think too, like, because we're not saying, like, especially for me, like, obviously we know it's something Wes struggled with. Mm-hmm. We know that it's not me. It was a Wes issue. It wasn't a me issue. Like, we know all those things. But at the same time, like, my feelings with those things are valid. Yeah. And like, even though I know it's not a me issue, my feelings are still valid to say, like, it hurts me and I don't like this. And you make me feel like this when you do that. Yep. And all of those things are valid and all those things are real. And like, I do get to be honest with how I'm feeling.
Correct.
But also, if we're choosing to do this together, then like, I have to give you space to put in the work while I also put in work on my end. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what's the point of your marriage if you're not trying to build or to grow or to fix what's been broken?
Correct. Which is what that's one of the things I loved about the Carl and Laura Lentz. Obviously, if you don't know their story, you can go look it up and all that, or listen to their podcast. But obviously, he screwed up.
Big time.
Big time. She didn't do anything wrong.
No, never.
But still,
she's an angel. I love her so much.
I could listen to her talk all day long.
No, I love her.
I love an Australian accent.
Yes.
Anyway, but her, on the other side of all of this, she is still talking about the growth that she had to go through. Obviously the healing that she had to go through, but she's talking about how much she had to grow, how much she had to learn. Even though she's not even the one that screwed up, right? She is talking about how, like, basically, we're in this together. We're going to figure this out. We're both going to go to therapy. And we're going to, like, if this is going to work, we're going to do this together. And I'm going to grow, and you're going to grow, and we're going to grow together. Mm-hmm. That shows me, like, when you're really in it together, because she didn't do anything wrong. Yep. But she was willing to say, like, she is now saying, I had to grow. I had to learn. She was willing to put in the work for them to grow together, even though that he's the one that screwed up. He's the one that had to really get therapy, really get some help, really learn, really grow. Yeah. But she was like, no. If we're going to make this work, we're going to do it together. We're going to grow on our own. We're going to grow as individuals, and we're going to grow together. Yep. And that's how it has to work. Yeah. You grow individually, and you grow together.
Yeah. Like I said before, what is the point of your marriage if you're both not willing to say, correct, like, because at the end of the day, like, especially like in Carl and Laura's like situation, like, she had every right to leave. Yeah. Like, she had every ground to be like, I'm not staying. I want a divorce. Correct. And nobody would have faulted her for that. Not a single person. I mean, some people would, but whatever.
They can kiss my butt.
Correct. She could have left, and everyone would have been like, he was in the wrong.
Correct.
But she chose to stay. And because of that, she put the work in. So, like, if your spouse has done something like that has hurt you, like, if you're going to put in the work, or if you're not going to put in the work, why are you still married? Correct. Why are you still doing this? Like, you might as well. We're not for divorce, and I definitely don't think you should divorce your spouse if they struggle with porn, personally. Now, if they're choosing to, like, do this and hurt you, like, that's a different conversation. But if they're actively trying to grow, to be better, to heal, to not hurt you, you don't want to, like, fix it. Why are you married? I think there's a lot of room to grow, to heal, and trust can be built. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited that we were able to, like, finally talk about this. And Wes and I are not perfect. We are not counselors. We are not therapists.
By any means.
If this is something you're struggling with in your marriage and you guys need to, like, sit down and talk to people, I would suggest, like, marriage counseling. I don't think that Wes and I could do a Zoom meeting with you and heal all your problems. Would we talk to you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there may be some people who need to go deeper. So please don't look at Wes and I and be like, oh my God, I need to talk to my therapist. We're not therapists.
We're not therapists. We're not licensed.
Nope.
Nope.
We've just been through some crap.
Yep.
And we're healing and we're growing and we love each other. And that's it. Wes, do the thing.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. That is check. There it is, podcast. Send us a DM. Like our, Facebook page. Not Facebook page. Is Facebook page? Do we have a Facebook page? No. YouTube page. Like our YouTube page. Leave us a comment. Ask any questions you got. So.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.